Here are some excerpts from Ben's early tapes, number 9 through 21. This first part actually has excerpts from tape 21 because it relates directly to stuff that was on tape number 8. So this is a good thing to listen after that. This is not far in time because this was made in early 1974. At this time, Ben had 2 tape recorders. One of them was excellent, much better than the one you heard used on tape 8. The other was a bloody disaster that he never should have even used because it had apparently DC bias and DC erase and anything else that could put noise in the tape. Oh my God, it's terrible. But what I'm going to play here first was made with the good tape recorder. You may recall from tape 8 that Ben dialed 212 in front of a number of Centrex codes, and that caused his Crossbar 1 office to send the 212, which caused many of the tandems in New York City that handle Centrex to go to a vacant code recording. One such tandem is East 97th Street Tandem 4, which handles only 3 codes, 650, 870, and 960. Here, Ben is dialing 212 plus 960 to get the recording, and I'll let him take it from here. When I show up later in this tape, I'm calling from Virginia.
Okay, by dialing 212 before 960 exchange, which is Centrex, we go through 212 for 8, and we get the recording because my office sends out 212. Now, this recording happens to be quite talkable. I just noticed today's March 9th, 1974. So I'll put this line on hold and record. Meanwhile, I'll go to my other line and call it up, and you'll hear me talking to you, the recorder.
Hello, that's me talking to you. Test 1 2, test 1 2 3 4. Test 1 2 3, cha 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 1 2 3. Test 1 2, test 1 2 3 4. Testing 1 2 3 4. Alrighty, alright, I'm talking in a pretty fair voice now, and hopefully this is coming out. I think this line is pretty good for conferencing purposes. I don't know how long it's been filtered, or hasn't been filtered rather, but it's pretty good now. The recording's pretty low, compared to most recordings. Alright, I'll dial a few digits and flash a bit, and then I'll hang up, and we'll see how it comes out. So I'll dial now. I'll flash a little. Now I'll hang up. Goodbye.
Okay, we'll see how that came out.
I'm sorry, your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again? Recording.
Hello.
Hi, did you come in?
Yeah, I just came in.
You really can't hear anything.
Well, yeah, I don't think you can either.
Your call did not go through.
But at least it shows that we're initiating something.
Recording.
Right,
212
are you recording on a third line?
That's right.
Okay.
This because otherwise I'd be so loud,
I'm sorry.
and it wouldn't be that accurate.
Will you please hang up and try again?
This is what's today's date?
48.
It's like the 8th or the 9th of March.
It's the 10th of March.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's a Sunday.
Will you please hang up and try again?
What?
Recording. 212-48.
What'd you say?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, alright. This is,
I'm sorry.
let's see, Evan is on here,
Will you please hang up and try again?
and,
Recording. 212-48.
he's not in New York at this time.
Right.
I'm sorry. Your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again?
Tell you what.
Recording. 212-48.
21244.
What? Oh, okay.
21244.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Say a few words a little louder to make sure that it's coming through okay.
Try again. Record. 212-48.
Say a few words in a little louder voice.
Right now, I'm talking in a little louder voice.
I'm sorry.
Very good.
Your call did not go
Turn on the
through.
amp, okay?
Will you please
Alright,
hang
I'd like to hear you hang up.
Recording.
So hang up towards the end of the recording.
Alright, I just wanted to see what an amp would sound like on this.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, listen.
Try again.
Yeah.
What should I get? The P recording?
Yeah, you want the P recording. I can't get the L. Well, if you can get the L, I can too.
Sorry. Your
Oh,
call.
but I can't get the P recording.
Will you please hang up?
Can you put an extra digit?
Recording.
I think I can get the L.
212-48.
But by ways other than 212 plus.
I get down 212 before it.
Call did not go through.
But I can't do that.
But you don't have, you can get it another way, can't you?
Recording.
How?
212-48.
Oh, you can't.
Of course I can.
You can.
Of course I can't.
Oh,
How could I possibly get the L?
then I guess you'll call me back and give me the stuff, right?
And try again.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, you want to record me going off, so I will.
Bye.
I'm sorry. Your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again? Recording. 212-48. I'm sorry. Your call did not go through. Will you
Now I'll go off.
try again? Recording. 212-48.
Goodbye.
I'm sorry. Your call did not go through. Will you please hang up and try again? Recording. 212-48.
On tape 8, 394, the New York telephone Crossbar 5 Centrex code was going through suburban tandem. By now, March 1974, sadly, it isn't. Here are two 394 numbers in a row. In the call that follows, the automatic answering equipment flashes, inadvertently triggering a Centrex transfer. You hear the ring of the operator for New York telephone, and I think she doesn't answer because it's after hours. But on 394 numbers that went to these announcements, that would often happen.
Immediately by dialing 212-370-3636. This is the New York Telephone Company Network Service Bureau, 237 East 37th Street, New York City. Thank you for calling. Friday, March 8th, 10 p.m. The network is carrying normal traffic at this time. If you are encountering any difficulties completing over any tandem route or to any NPA, please advise us immediately by dialing 212-370-3636. This is the New York Telephone Company Network Service Bureau, 237 East 37th Street, New York City. Thank you for calling. This is your New York Telephone News Wire from 140 West Street on Friday, March 8th. In its 1973 annual report, 1973, switching equipment was added to 164 central office buildings, including 27 ESS offices. The company added 2 new 4A tandems and expanded capacity in 16 existing tandem offices. Construction expenditures for the year came to $945 million. The Public Service Commission in November authorized a rate increase that it said would yield $289 million a year in additional revenues. The new rates went into effect on December 2nd, but the full annual effect will not be felt until the end of 1974. The company noted in the annual report that while the rate increase will help to improve earnings, its impact will be diluted by the continuing high rate of inflation. That's your Friday edition. Have a good weekend, and thank you for calling.
.394 now goes through Queens Tandem, 21235. That's Ben's new outgoing final route for calls to the downstate area. That's a new thing. Used to be suburban. That last one sounded pretty good because he got a wire trunk to Queens, and then Queens took an N3 trunk to 394. But he didn't record that call going through. That first call you heard was T-Carrier to Queens, wire to 394. Here's one that goes T-Carrier to Queens and then N3 to 394.
Bureau, 237 East 37th Street, New York City. Thank you for calling. Friday, March 8th, 10 p.m. The network is carrying normal traffic at this time.
Okay, we're on 340-4767, and the Bureau of Laboratory Recording is off. This is March 10th, a Sunday, 1974. Waiting for Evan to get on. Before the tape runs out. Nah, I got time. You can hear some sort of ticking in the background, timing or something from the recorder. You know, sometimes the recorders make, this recorder especially made a noise. I put on 4776 because that's what he's supposed to get on. Oh, here he comes. He might be on it. I think we'll redial. Okay, now we're definitely on 4767. Here he comes. Hello. Hello.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to, but I lost my trunk.
Oh, I think that I might have been on your extension, so I hung up and called back. Because I heard you come in. Did you get it busy?
No, I got silence.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I'd like to see how this comes out anyhow. All right, can you hang up and ring this back?
Sure.
Hello. This is Sunday, March 10th, 1974. Evan and I are chanting 598, and I just found in the second company a good conference line. All right, this is 59847. Here we go. I'll flash the hook a few times and dial a few times, then hang up. Now hang.
Hey man, listen, would you like to win a free album right now? All you got to do to get it is be caller number 20 at 354-8600. Caller number 20, a free album right now from the Super X and Big Ron O'Brien in the nighttime. 8 o'clock in the nighttime, 99X is WXLO New York. 99X WXLO with thousands of dollars in cash for you and the only Elton John concert tickets in town. This is Big Ron. I got them all night long from Super X.
The company knocked down XLO's lines when they had a mass call-in to get a cash prize, and this is what they put on the AIS. Now you can only get it ONI because the numbers are reconnected.
You to stay over. Operator, what number are you calling, please?
354-8600.
Thank you.
The number you have reached, 354-8600, has been disconnected temporarily. 354-8600 has been disconnected temporarily.
That embarrassing silence after the word temporarily, not at the customer's request. Usually we'd hear that for non-payment, but this time the radio station had a field day with the fact that the phone company had to cut their line off because the response was so overwhelming. Ah, shut up. This is Ben's lousy tape recorder.
From 140 West Street, this is the 9 a.m. edition of your New York Telephone News Wire on Friday, February 1st. As a result of rate regrouping, monthly rates for flat rate service in 17 exchanges on Long Island, in Westchester, Rockland, and upstate will go up today. The increase will affect some 110,000 customers in exchanges where the total number of phones has grown and now exceeds the maximum level for that rate group and fall into the next higher rate group. The monthly increases for flat rate residence service will range from 38 cents to $1.15, depending on the size of the customer's exchange. In other news, complying with the Public Service Commission order of last December 20, in which the company was told to provide compensation to customers for errors in directory listings, the company yesterday filed appropriate tariffs, which will go into effect on March 2nd. The compensation plan calls for credit when a mistake, error, or omission has been made on a no-charge published listing, on a charge or additional directory listing, or on records used by the directory assistance operator. Compensation will be in the form of monetary credit, and it varies according to the three situations mentioned. Today, February 1st, is moving day for Newswire. Equipment is being relocated, and so is the Newswire staff. During this period of adjustment, your Newswire will be prepared only once a day in the morning. We hope this period will be brief and that we'll be back on a two-a-day schedule within a week or so. In the meantime, please keep calling Newswire, and if you find one day that you can't get through at all, don't be discouraged. The disruption will be temporary, and we'll be back in business as quickly as possible. Next edition of Newswire is scheduled for Monday morning, February 4th. This is Helen Banks. Thank you for calling.
This is the final edition of AT&T Newsline for Friday, February 1. First, the stock and weather reports, and then a few words about a man who defied his parents, managed a winning baseball team, and became AT&T's first president in that order. On Wall Street today, the market closed lower in sluggish trading. AT&T Common closed at 50 7/8 up a half, and convertible preferred at 57 unchanged. The weather mostly cloudy, windy, and 37 degrees. The weekend forecast, at least some sun, and temperatures will be in the 30s. A commemorative marker was recently unveiled in Malvern, Ohio, hailing the town as the birthplace of AT&T's first president, Theodore N. Belle. The marker describes Belle as father of railway, mail, and long-distance telephone services. Belle is credited with having changed the Bell system from a small, struggling firm to a vital nationwide system. He's been described as a Westerner at heart who was willing to fight hard for what he believed in. For instance, as a young man during the Civil War, he worked in a drugstore. His parents got him the job hoping it would inspire him to study medicine. As it turned out, the telegraph office was also located in the drugstore, and Belle spent a lot of time studying the telegraph, which fascinated him. When his parents made it clear that they wanted him to be a doctor, Belle made it clear to them that he didn't, that he wanted to work with the telegraph, and that if they didn't like it, he'd leave home. They didn't like it, so he left and headed for New York City. About a year later, Belle and his parents patched up the quarrel and moved out to Waterloo, Iowa. While there, he organized a baseball team. The records show that on at least one afternoon, Belle's future organizational abilities were apparent. That memorable day, Belle's Waterloo team beat Cedar Rapids 84-30, with 33 runs scored in one inning alone. Such success, says the Belle biography, had to be a harbinger of future greatness. With all due respect to Mr. Belle's greatness, that Cedar Rapids team must have been a bunch of real winners. And that's the end of the story and the week. This is Mary Ardito for AT&T Newsline. From AT&T headquarters in New York, this is the Bell System Newsline for Friday, February 1. For those of you who call the New York telephone newsline, starting today and continuing for about a week, Helen Banks will be doing only one edition a day. The New York Public Relations Department and some other departments are moving to new quarters in Midtown Manhattan, and that will be starting over the weekend and continuing over the next month. They're actually staggering the move. Eventually, New York Tel headquarters will switch from 140 West Street in Lower Manhattan to 1095 Avenue of the Americas in Mid-Manhattan. Helen Banks' newsline number stays the same temporarily. Her office number, effective Monday, will be, area code 212-395-2303, and her room number will be 2504. Also on Monday, we expect to have a year-end earnings story. I don't know the release time yet, but we'll probably do a special edition. I'll try to tell you more on Monday's Bell System Newsline. Also later in the month, there'll be an annual report story. That should break around the 18th of February. Here's an item. The IBEW, that's the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Union, has announced its goals for national bargaining with AT&T for this year. The IBEW represents some 70,000 Bell employees in 7 system operating companies. The demands include substantial wage hikes, improvements in pensions, medical insurance, cost of living, and vacations. Another item, you might call this one shades of phone centers, the British Columbia Company in Canada has launched that country's first Phone Mart, and that's M-A-R-T, where customers may select their own phones. The Phone Mart is being tested in Vancouver, which has more than 22,000 residences. The test period starts March 1, and that was the British Columbia Telephone Company. That's the Bell System Newsline for Friday. This is Mary Ardito reporting.
On tape 8, the way incoming trunks behave on Crossbar 1 and Crossbar 5 was discussed. One of the things that incoming trunks tend to do in the Crossbar offices, actually they do it all the time, is that when an incoming call hangs up on a telephone that remains off hook, that telephone line stays connected to the trunk until another caller re-seizes it. And if that other caller dials a different number, there is a moment in which that other caller is connected to that off-hook telephone for just an instant. Here, on a call to the Network Management Bureau report recording, you can hear just a little clip of the voice of Helen Banks from the New York Telephone Newswire. So this trunk was on the Newswire, whoever got it hung up, and then Ben used that trunk to go to the Network Management Bureau's recording. You can hear just a little bit of Helen Banks' voice. Listen carefully.
Thank you for calling.
Okay, now we're connected to the recording we called. Let me play that back again, and then I'll let the whole thing play.
Thank you for calling. Friday, February 1st, 10 p.m. The network is carrying no more traffic at this time. If you are encountering any difficulties completing over any tandem route or to any NPA, please advise us immediately by dialing 212-370-3636. This is the New York Telephone Company Network Service Bureau, 237 East 37th Street, New York City. Thank you for calling.
Now here's a recording of Ben with Steve from Manhattan demonstrating this phenomenon. Unfortunately, it's with Ben's low-quality tape recorder, but you can hear all the essential details. Ben is recording and Steve is calling Ben. For the purpose of this demonstration, Ben is using a relay device that answers his call immediately as soon as it detects a ring, and then it hangs up as soon as it detects an interruption in DC power. So it starts with Ben's phone on hook. Steve's call comes in. The ring power can be heard. That triggers the relay to answer. When Steve hangs up, the relay stays engaged because there is no DC indication that Steve has hung up. The relay will remain engaged until there is a DC interruption, and that is caused by someone, in this case Steve, but it could be anyone, reseizing that same trunk and a complete number being sent. At that moment, the power on Ben's line is interrupted and his relay device hangs up. Now, when the number Steve dialed was Ben's number, the hanging up is just in time for the new call to come in. Now, when Steve dials a different number than Ben's, then the call just drops. But no matter what number Steve dials, there is a moment right before the call drops that Ben and Steve are connected, just like you heard Helen Banks there. Just for a second.
All right, we're recording. We're going to record someone calling up, being answered, supervised, and then redialing and seizing the same trunk. And this is our number one crossbar. Now notice, once we have held the trunk from the first call, and we're waiting for the number to call back again, notice the tick about 5 seconds before the first trunk is taken away and then put back again. All right, the call's going through. We'll be quiet. Okay. We had an automatic relay answering supervised. My other line is tied for capacitors. And now he'll call back. Listen for the tick. That was it.
Yep. Want to do it again?
Okay, we'll do it again in a moment. Okay, 30 seconds later, the call has been dialed again. There's the tick. It's going to make it. Fine, redial it again, please. Okay, this time we'll be perfectly silent. Once more. Okay, now we're going to record this being done manually. First time we'll do it calling the same number so that I'll hang up after it drops my trunk. Then the second time we'll do it calling another number. And I'll do a pair of each with no signal coming from his side, and a pair of each with him playing a tone, so you can hear as he selects the trunk. All right, here we go. He'll call me up now, and I'll swoop. Okay, call me back, please. And play a tone.
Okay.
No, don't play a tone the first time.
Right, I won't.
Okay, still have the trunk. Now call a different number. No tone.
No tone.
He's calling back.
Here it comes.
All right, now call me up, my number, and play a tone.
Well, okay, don't snip me then.
Right.
Here it comes.
Hold me up, please. Here he comes. Okay, now call back. And play a tone, and I'll manually hang up at the right time.
Here it comes.
Okay, call a different number now. With the tone.
Right. Here it comes.
Okay, seizing the trunk and giving it back. I'll describe this as soon as he comes on. Are you coming? Here you go. Okay. What happens in this procedure is that he calls me up and hangs up just, let's see, what point does he hang up at?
When the reverted pulse starts.
Once the reverted pulse already starts. So you hear the first tick as it's coming on to take my trunk away, but then he hangs up, so he just gives it back. Okay, call me up now.
Here we go.
Yes, fine.
Okay. Want it again?
Okay, do it again. This time try hanging up a little later on, like during the reverted pulse.
I was already into the reverted pulse. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Your call cannot be dialed. Please hang up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Your call cannot... I'm sorry. Your call be completed as dialed. Up and check the number. I'm sorry. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please hang up. I'm sorry. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please hang up and check the number and dial again, or ask your operator for assistance. This is a recording in Defuniak Springs.
I'm sorry. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please hang up and check the number and dial again, or ask your operator for assistance. This is a recording in Defuniak Springs, Florida. I'm sorry.
That's all I have for this program of stuff from Ben's oldest tapes. There's more to follow.